we talked about subtraction of numbers earlier in the course, we saw problems like this wording where it said subtract somebody from somebody. And when we did those problems, one of the warnings that I gave you was that the order in which you do this subtraction is really important, and it's part of being able to do this problem. So when you see a problem like this, subtract somebody from somebody, the first thing you have to remember is that this second polynomial is going to be the first one that you write down. So when we rewrite this as a subtraction problem, whoever's hanging out after the word from is always the thing that you write down first. So in fact, the subtraction problem that they're asking us to do is negative x squared plus 3x plus 10 minus, and then it's the second one up here. So we have 3x squared minus 5x minus 3. So now that we know that's the subtraction problem that they're asking us to do, once again, we can do this by combining like terms, or we can do it by columns. So let's do both and make sure that we see the technique for each one of those. So in order to combine like terms on this problem, then, I'm going to write down my first polynomial without any changes. So there we have negative x squared plus 3x plus 10. And then remember that when we look at this negative here, we can think about that as a negative 1, and we can distribute that negative 1 through to each and every one of those terms in the second polynomial. So negative 1 times a positive 3x squared is going to be a negative 3x squared. Negative 1 times a negative 5x is going to be a positive 5x. Negative 1 times negative 3 is going to be a positive 3. So now that we have this, then, we can go ahead and combine like terms. Now, once again, if you want to go ahead and write the step where you put all the pieces that look like the other pieces together, certainly feel free to do that. If you don't need to write this step, feel free to skip this one. So I have a negative x squared from my first polynomial, and his friend from the second polynomial is negative 3x squared. Then we have a positive 3x from the first polynomial, and a positive 5x from the second polynomial, positive 10 from the first, and positive 3 from the second. This way then I have the two terms that involve x to the second right next door to each other, I have the two terms involving x right next door to each other, and then the two constant terms right next door to each other. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and bring them together. So I have negative 1 of those x squareds minus 3 of those x squareds. So negative 1, negative 3, those are going to come together as negative 4 of those x squareds. 3x plus 5x, those are going to come together as a positive 8x, and then 10 plus 3 is going to be 13. So there's our answer by combining like terms, negative 4x squared plus 8x plus 13. But I can do the same problem by columns. So let's go ahead and check that out. So I'm going to start by writing down my first polynomial, negative x squared plus 3x plus 10, and then I want to subtract from that my second polynomial here. 3x squared. Again, notice that I'm lining up x squareds together. And then we have minus 5x. I'm lining up the x to the firsts, and then minus 3. Now, once again, it is tempting to simply subtract these two pieces and then forget about the fact that we're subtracting for the rest of this second polynomial. So again, the safest way to do this subtraction problem is to remember that every single term in that second polynomial has to change signs. So again, I like to come in and say, I'm going to change this into an addition problem, and every one of these terms is going to change signs. So this positive 3x squared is now going to be negative. Negative 5x is going to be positive, and negative 3 is going to be positive. So now I can add column by column. I have negative x squared and negative 3x squared. They're going to come together as negative 4 of those x squareds. Positive 3x and positive 5x are going to come together as a positive 8x, and positive 10 and positive 3 are going to come together as a positive 13. So once again, as I look at the left-hand column and the right-hand column, we do get the same answer. But again, you want to be careful and comfortable with both of those techniques.